Welcome everyone to today's food demonstration on pumpkin. You know, for those who don't know me, my name is Patricia. I'm a nutritionist, and I also present weekly vegan dinners at the Opera Plaza in downtown San Francisco. If you'd like more information on that, you can just stop by the table out in the big open area. Once you leave today's demonstration, you can get more information on that dinner. But with that said, what are we going to be demonstrating today? Yes, pumpkin. And you know, I had a wonderful old lady come up to me before the demonstration, and she was asking me, like, what's this business about ornamental? Oh, you can't eat that pumpkin. What's up with that? Well, let me just quickly put it out there. It's food, right? You can eat the pumpkins, and we're going to try to test those. You know, I don't have a pumpkin for you in front of me to show you in its whole natural state, but does anyone here unfamiliar with a pumpkin, what a big orange pumpkin might look like fresh? Well, just in case. But to demonstrate what we're going to be starting you out with for pumpkin-wise, is your first recipe in the upper left corner, carob pumpkin smoothie. Now, my husband, he's not so much of a pumpkin fan, if you will. So when I prepare pumpkin at home, I kind of like to kind of finesse it out a little bit. Maybe it doesn't hit you with this color or worse, you know, when it comes out of a dish. So when I prepare my pumpkin at home, and I encourage you, this is when I want to get out the door right off the bat. You know, I hear people, they take their hard winter squashes, their butternut, pumpkin, acorn, the list goes on. You know, people want to try and take a knife to the raw pumpkin. And in my opinion, that's a recipe for disaster, right? Because you take a round, rolly object, and you're trying to cut it to fit it in your oven. That's not going to work. That's not safe. And I believe the way the little pumpkin grows, you don't need to do that, just like with all your other squashes. So when I prepare the pumpkin that we're demonstrating today, and when I enjoy it at home, I take the whole pumpkin, I wash it off, I put it on a cookie sheet in the oven, and let it slow roast for about an hour at 325 degrees, as I say here in the note. That way you can prepare the pumpkin in a safe, nutritious manner. It's actually steaming at that point. So if you were to cut the pumpkin up, put it on the cookie sheet, that's going to roast it, dry it out. Maybe that's what you're looking for at that point in time. However, if you just slide it in its whole form in the oven, poof, it's easy. You can go on to other stuff that you'd prefer doing than watching over a stupid pumpkin. I shouldn't say stupid pumpkin, but some other object that you enjoy much more. I advocate this way of preparing your pumpkin. If you have a smaller squash and you have a large crock pot at home, once again, you just wash off that pumpkin or that squash, drop it in the crock pot, set it on low and slow, and cook it until it's soft. There it is. Then you can remove it from the heat source. Then you can just use your hands at that point. It's so soft and tender. Then you may remove the seeds and, you know, extract the flesh from the pumpkin. And that's as easy as it gets. I really wanted to also stress, number one, not only using fresh pumpkins because of the taste, and hopefully this will be illustrated in today's cooking demonstration, but also because there's something about the canned pumpkin, the processing. You know, that canned pumpkin has been processed so much, it becomes almost another product. It's not this light, colorful pumpkin that you see before you. It becomes a dark, almost bitter, tinny kind of flavor. So you have to work extra hard to take that canned flavor of the pumpkin out of the food, unless, of course, you want to mask it with a lot of sugar, a lot of spice, and whatever else you want to. Then, well, you're going down a different road that I'm not here to represent. So with that said, I'm going to start with our recipe, once again, with a carob pumpkin smoothie. Anyone in the audience at any time, if you have a question or a comment, please just raise your hand, all right? So we're going to get started along. I have here, it says, let's start with 1 or 2 apples. Why apples? Well, traditionally, I would serve something like this for breakfast. You know, apples, fresh fruit, is a good way to start your day. It also has been shown one of the most important critical points in cancer prevention is including fresh fruit in your daily meal. So why not do it at the get-go in the beginning, because we're likely to forget as time goes on. So I am blessed with this wonderful apple tree in the backyard. It's been raining apples for maybe a month and a half. And then wouldn't you know it, here it is, Veg Day. My apples are all the way at the top of the tree. I can't get to them. But I procured fresh backyard pears. And they've already been audience approved of a desirable sweetness. So we're going to use a pear, which is a nice substitute for apple if you get tired of all the apple stuff all the time. So if you have a household blender, I can't say enough good things. I'm not represented by a product. I'm not sponsored by any particular product. But BlendTech blenders are fantastic. They do the job, and they have fantastic customer service. So I'm just going to add in this recently chopped pear. And then it says here, add a tablespoon of flax, chia, hemp, something like that. Anyone out here want to know why would I want to add something like that to this? Anybody? Anyone know what you got? You know, who's the superstar who said that? I heard, oh, yes, you know it. It's not only that, but also it helps thicken the smoothie. Because, yes,
I couldn't hear what you said.
Omega-3 fatty acids. So this is an important part of keeping your body and your mind healthy, right? It helps, it's a feel-good thing. If you're deficient in omega-3 fatty acids, things are not always going to be happy for you necessarily. So I just happen to have this sample. This is a good product. These are hemp hearts. Now in this little, 3 tablespoon packet, and I'm advocating just placing a tablespoon of flax, chia, or hemp. You know, this is for a group, so I'm just going to put the whole packet in here. But just be mindful, this is a nutrient-dense product. So even though, I think I only have a tablespoon and a half in here. So at a tablespoon and a half, you're going to have about, I think, what is it? I would say about 100 calories in this little packet, because it's a seed. It's a protein source. It's a rich source of oils. So you want to add that into your container. And then what else? Pumpkin. Why not? Now, I didn't do anything special with this pumpkin. I didn't necessarily cut it up. I just kind of removed it from its little outer flesh there, outer skin, and put it in this bag. And then we just want to add that. And then to add to that, a little bit of water, because it's available. Now, if you have a special juice you like to use or have some other designs, perhaps some veggie milk, you can do that as well. You know, I give these recipe guidelines as that, not really a hard and set and fast rule, but this is just more or less an inspiration for you to use and refer to. And then here, what is this? 2 tablespoons carrot powder. Now, I understand we're in a metropolitan setting, and we have a very metropolitan group. You know, pretty smart folks, well educated. But if anyone not familiar with carrot powder, let me explain to you the fantastic reason why I'm using carrot powder versus a cocoa powder. We seem to be inundated in this day and age where it's a cocoa, cacao, chocolate, but there's a lot of reasons you might want to avoid those foods because, number one, of a caffeine component. Number 2, you might be prone to receiving migraines. It might trigger a migraine for you. So those are a couple of the reasons. Number 3, it's a very bitter food, and a lot of American palates prefer something sweeter. Number 4, because it's so bitter, you often have to add more sweetener to make it palatable. So with that said, to the rescue is carob powder, C-A-R-O-B. Now what this is actually from a pod, and it's naturally sweet, it's dark, and rich flavored, something better to me than I would say cocoa is. So I have this, and if you can traditionally find it in your health food store. Some stores actually have it available in a raw form. That's harder to find. Otherwise, you'll have to typically revert to, they have it often as sealed or sold in a sealed canister next to the coffees. So there I've added my 2 tablespoons of carrot powder. Another good thing about carrot powder is it's rich in micronutrients. Once again, if you're thinking about what do you want to get in your day, you want to put in some nutrient-dense foods. Now here, what did I put in there? Oh, optional. Handful of kale. Why not? I've been on like kale everything. But because I've been using so much kale, I was out of kale. So no kale for you guys today. But I encourage you, why not throw it in there? You won't notice it. Maybe your friend won't notice it either. So go ahead and put it in there. And then also, this is something, I'm not a coffee drinker, but I heard all these pumpkin spice coffee things, right? Pumpkin spice or pumpkin whatever coffee. It's like, I've yet to even try that. And I thought, what? They don't actually use pumpkin. They're just using the pumpkin spice, which doesn't contain pumpkin, but it does contain nutmeg and cinnamon and clove. So I added a little bit of the pumpkin spice in here because it's that time of the year. But on a day like today, it's a little warm. Maybe we don't need such a warming spice, but it's in there already. And then, on a warm day like today, it would be good to add perhaps a few ice cubes to make it more of a slushy consistency, if that's what you enjoy first thing in the morning or maybe at break time. Of course, bananas always like something most of us keep in our house. You could always throw in any fruit that's about ready to, go out of date, and you want to use it up, so just put it in here. So there you go. Here's your smoothie contents, and you just put now, I would hope most of you folks have a blender. If you don't have a blender at home, it's a little bit more challenging to make something like this. But this would give you encouragement to, it worked before. I think so. It did. Yeah, we'll try it.
Yeah, the light's on.
Oh, the light's on?
It is
Yeah.
now.
Okay.
Yeah,
There we go. Brace your ears. So this will just process for a minute. That's all I can stand of that. So with that said, here's your smoothie, and it's just like a chocolate malty goodness. So if the ladies would like to bring out the food samples of this now to have a taste, or for those with a thirstier appetite, I would encourage you to come up, grab a glass, and taste it and see what you think. George knows my food, so he's a brave soul. But you saw the ingredients, so it's all good for you. And if you make this ahead of time, it's going to thicken. And if you have leftovers, you're going to want to put them in you're welcome, you're going to want to put them in the freezer in the ice cube tray. So as you were tasting that, let me know what your honest opinions are. If it's not sweet enough, you'd want to add more fresh fruit. If you want more pumpkin, one of the things I've neglected to add was the reasons why you would like to add pumpkin to this dish. Because pumpkin is, number one, economical, extremely nutritious, and available. Even if you don't feel like preparing your pumpkin, let's say this week or next week, it's going to keep for a long time. So you just get your pumpkin, use it a little bit for decoration in the kitchen, and then, hey, maybe a month or two down the road, you might be really hungry and want to eat your pumpkin. So with that said, does anyone have any questions or comments? Yes?
Yes, can you explain, so you cook the pumpkin, you said you roast it in the oven.
Uh-huh.
Because you didn't say how the process of when you got it into the bag.
Oh,
So you roasted it, and then you cut it open, and then you scraped it out, and that's what you put.
Yes.
What you have right here.
I did. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. Here in my notes section, I just briefly give you an overview about how I prepare the pumpkin for all of the dishes demonstrated tonight. So you just place your whole pumpkin in the oven once you've rinsed it, and then you roast it for about an hour or until it is soft, or until you want it there. You can eat pumpkin in its raw state, but you have to kind of process it a little bit with things that I'm not too familiar with, and it's a timely process, and otherwise it's going to taste a bit starchy. Otherwise, you can eat your pumpkin whole if you like. And you can also reserve the seeds, which we're going to talk about in just a minute. So with that said, I want to go on to I'm excited about the next dip coming up. This is a pumpkin bean dip. Now for the Wednesday night dinners at Opera Plaza, you know what I like?
Excuse me, did everybody get?
Thank you. Oh, thank you for checking, Arlen.
Here for a checkup. Don't need a medical checkup.
You know, it doesn't have to be fantastic, but this is a nutritious at-home smoothie, and that's just really what I want to get to you today, is that the pumpkin is available for you instead of buying pumpkin products. You know, I went to the store the other day. Oh, yeah, there was pumpkin everything, but it's almost a pumpkin junk food, if you will. It's something I really wasn't impressed with. And I could even give my little doggy pumpkin treats, but I passed on those. So moving on along, pumpkin bean dip, yes. Once again, these are just more or less measurements. So I have in here approximately 1 cup of pumpkin, prepared as I prepared it, like the whole thing. And I bought, I think, about 2 or 3 pumpkins. I think I'm only using 1 pumpkin, and I still have leftovers at home. So 1 pumpkin in the food processor. Got to have these 2 pieces of equipment in my kitchen. So I'm going to put the pumpkin in there and beans. Briefly about beans. I'm using black beans today. Black beans because I have a lot of them. And they're yummy, and they're black, and it's kind of seasonal food, right? Why not? If you're going to make your beans at home, which I highly encourage you to do, just as I encourage you to prepare your pumpkin as we do today at home instead of buying something in a can, you can just buy them dry, rinse them, put them in a slow cooker. I always add bay leaf, which is very prevalent in this area, and if you have good friends or know the right people, you can get your bay leaves at no cost. And number 2, you can also add, I always add this too, is a sprinkle of red pepper flakes, actually. Just add those items to the food while it's cooking. So here I have 1 cup of beans. White beans are very good in this dish. Black beans I'm using because I wanted a certain color for this dish also. And the black beans can provide for that. And then here, 2 cloves garlic. I hope there aren't any garlic phobes in the room. Because, why should we be garlic phobic? Because it's one of the most health supporting foods for us. It's antifungal, antiviral. Anybody else want to venture what else it is? That's true. It's true. Antimicrobial, antiviral. Did I say that one too? There you go. So it's just going to kill out everything that you don't want to have in your body. So with that said, I have my 2 cloves of garlic. I encourage you once again, I sound like a broken record at this point. It's got to be fresh garlic. I'm not talking about the stuff that's been chopped sitting on a shelf in a jar. I'm not talking about the stuff that's been peeled from the ranch that you can buy. It's sitting on a shelf in the produce section. I don't think that it has an acrid taste to me. So you just buy the whole dried bulb of garlic. And you want to take 2 of those and use a good garlic press. This is a press from Switzerland. I've had it for 30 years. It doesn't break. It's phenomenal. Before I got this one, I went through a lot of garlic presses. So this is a good piece of kitchen equipment.
Patricia, I have a question. Why do you put it through a press rather than put the whole clove in there?
Oh, you know why? Because I'm lazy. And
The thing is that exudes more of the oil and makes it stronger. If you just use the whole garlic, it's like better.
well, here's why. I will use the whole garlic, including the skin, the paper skin that we try ever so hard to remove, whenever I'm using garlic in a blended recipe. So I will indeed, at that time, the skin in the flesh of the garlic cloves goes right into the blender. Otherwise, with the food processor, I don't really want to take the time to remove the peel of the garlic cloves, so I'm going to use this because this automatically removes the peel, right? So and when I have a more express piece of garlic, it has a more concentrated flavor. Versus if I were to put the whole clove of garlic in here unchopped, it's going to be rough chopped, so it'll be milder. If that is your desire, or you may take your chances because when you just place a whole clove or 2 of garlic in your food processor bowl, guess what? It may not get chopped to your desired fineness. So this is my insurance right here. That's why I do that. So I have my 2 cloves of garlic. Oh, and something else, if you go exotic food shopping in the macrobiotic aisle, Now, I'm not putting this forth as anything to do with macrobiotic eating, but there is a product that's called umeboshi plum paste. Any of you folks familiar with that in the room? Yeah, there's a few of you. This is fantastic stuff. I brought the container once again, not because I'm being, not because they're sponsoring this, but because it's hard to find. And if you don't find this this is what you want to look for. It's by Eden or Eden Organics, or this one says Eden Selected. It's a little pricey if you don't want to make a financial commitment to buy this size. They also have a vinegar, so you can learn to use that if you'd like, just to kind of play with. What it does is it provides a salty tanginess to your food, and a little bit goes a long way. And this is also a secret. I'm telling you a secret to one of my dips. So for those out there who like to take these recipes home and try them, this is part of the secret, the umeboshi plum paste. And try to avoid, they also sell a plum paste, umeboshi plum paste, in something like a tube, like a toothpaste tube. But it has preservative in it and maybe some other ingredients that aren't necessarily desirable. So I encourage you not to buy that, because I bought it one time and it just wasn't going anywhere. And then smoked paprika, because paprika is good, but smoked paprika is lots better. So you want some of that in there. Cumin, just a traditional good flavor. Tamari, soy sauce, whatever you got to taste. And lemon juice to taste. I use a lot of lemons. Why do I use a lot of lemons? Because they're very health supporting, as well as being one of the products that's very alkalinizing for your body. You know what? When you get up in the morning, you might just want to take a glass of water and some of this juice. Fresh juice, right? Right into your water. It's good for your liver. It helps clean and cleanse and prepare yourself for the day. Good way to start your day. You can also serve it warm for winter time when it's cooler, or cool for the summertime. So I have all of this already ready and measured here in my little cups. I'm just going to open up the lid ever so carefully and place it in my food processor bowl. These are just things that you don't even need a measurement for. You can just go merrily along and say, oh, I want to clean out my pantry, or I want to clean out maybe some of the herbs that I have that are languishing, and go ahead and put this in before they go bad on you. So here I go, just dump that in. And then we're just going to process this until it's blended. It shouldn't take too long. And then we'll have this fantastic smoky pumpkin black bean dip. So there we go. And one thing too I like about making dips like this, you'll notice it'll just be blended. It won't be chunky anymore. This is also a good dip to use for sandwiches, right? Just put a little spread down on your bread or on your wrap, your tortilla, and then you add all your other veggies that you like. It's very festive and tasty. So there you go. Now, I know you can buy dip at the store, but why would you want to do that when you can buy the raw ingredients and produce something like this in 5 minutes? That's all it takes. So if the folks would like to bring out the samples of the black bean dip, we can go and enjoy that. I'm just going to serve it with some organic corn chips for you folks today. And I'll just pour the extra here. One thing that started me on, I guess, perhaps preparing dips at the Wednesday night dinners is the fact, just like with the cakes, I go to the store and I see the prices that people want to charge for such a product, a prepared product. I thought, man, nobody should have to pay that much for a bean dip or for a cake, so here it is. Now, I do have a couple of containers. I don't have the tops, but if anyone would like extras to take home, let me know what you think of it. And if you have any suggestions for improvement, let me know. Anybody have any questions or comments?
Where can you buy the smoked paprika?
Almost any store, but if you want to buy it that's affordable and typically always there, Trader Joe's, very good source for having that available.
Is it a powder or in a can?
It's in a glass jar, powdered. Is this something you folks think you would make at home? Oh, good. Redemption after that smoothie, perhaps. The smoothie was a little strong, I think, with the pumpkin spice, but there you go. It's a little garlicky, so for those who don't, folks who would prefer not to have the garlic, of course, you can omit it. But I just think it's a fun and festive way to serve bean and pumpkin, even for the pumpkin haters. So there you have it. So thank you. I need to give you that. Oh, I have one more. Thank you. One last dish. We're going to put it in the roundup here. I say, why not? You know, I don't read a lot, but I think about it, and I thought, I've got some fantastic inspiration for something reminiscent of a baked pasta dish. So with that said, I thought, I'm going to make my own pumpkin cheese sauce. Why not? Because it's fantastically flavored, and you can't buy anything like it out there in the stores that I know of. So with that said, I started on this endeavor to serve you folks and prepare for you a recipe of what I refer to as mac and cheese. Now, what I have, once again, we're going to go back to this blender, but it's a good standby. I want to prepare for you a base with the pumpkin because we have a lot of it, right? If we bought our own pumpkins, we're going to have plenty of pumpkin on hand. So you just want to take some of your pumpkin. This is an easy dish to make also. If you're coming home late at night, you're tired, but if you have it already prepared, you can just put all this stuff in a blender and have dinner ready. So it doesn't get any easier. A little bit of water we want to add to that. There we go. I don't know whether that's a cup, but we're going to start there. We're going to always add more. And then, almond or favorite nut. Because once again, I'm not... Usually the recipes I develop are not so stringent that you would not want to use what you have on hand or prefer. But I have here, I believe I wrote in here, a quarter cup of your favorite nuts. A quarter cup, for a lot of people, is simply measured in the palm of their hand. Right? Let's see if this works. I have small hands. These are Brazil nuts. I'm using them because they're one of the richest sources of selenium you can get. So we're going to add that, and they make a good creamy base for your sauce. So we have the selenium in the nuts. And then nutritional yeast. Oh man, tell me all you folks know what nutritional yeast is by now. We've had it on popcorn. It's that yellow powdery stuff. But it's a bit of an esoteric ingredient, right? Because I don't want to go to the store and try and find it sometimes. It's like, do you guys have nutritional yeast? So when you find it, buy a good amount so you don't have to go scurrying back to the store when you think you're going to want some. But, it adds a certain element. But if you don't have it in your cupboard, don't fret. We can just move on without it. So we want to add a bit of nutritional yeast. Once again, that'll provide a certain thickening component as well as a certain tanginess that is desirable in this dish. And then we have, once again, I like just to throw in a little bit of garlic. And I have a whole grain mustard in here. Also, then for your seasoning herb, you can do one or the other. You could probably do both. I say in here nutmeg or sage, either a sprinkling of nutmeg, or I happen to have a prolific amount of sage at home. So I'm just going to put these fresh rinsed leaves in here, along with the other ingredients I've already mentioned of the mustard and so forth. So there it all is. And we're just going to blend this up until it's smooth. Once again, we've already been down that road. And we're going to develop this fantastic sauce. I think I'm going to need some more water. There, it's done. See, this is a little thick and I want it that way. Because what you're going to have now when the folks can bring out the samples, what I have for you is I prepared a sauce such as we have here today. And then I happen to have some fantastic pasta from Italy. If you guys enjoy pasta, the bronze dyes are better because when it comes out of the cut of the bronze dye, it creates a more of a surface tension or surface area so the sauce can adhere to the pasta itself, as opposed to a plastic extruder dye, which is a slick form, and then your sauce doesn't hold on to it. So I'm using a special Trenne pasta from Italy. Yes? Yes, I apologize. As an aside for pasta, this particular product imported from Italy, uses a bronze die. That's a traditional pasta die to extrude the pasta itself. Modernly, however, especially in America, a lot of the manufacturers use a silicone or plastic die, if you will. It's slick. So when your pasta is going through that die, it's going to dry smooth. What's wrong with that? Well, because when you want to add a sauce to the pasta, it's just going to kind of fall away. Versus the bronze die adds another dimension to the surface and therefore to the flavor. So this is a really good three-sided pasta, something similar to a penne pasta. So you simply take the sauce and pour it over your prepared pasta. You can bake it for an additional time to really have it thicken up and get creamy. Otherwise, you can serve it just as it is with your freshly baked pasta or rice even. That can be a very desirable point of place for enjoyment for your dinner. So if the folks can bring out are you guys working on it? Yes. Okay, good. So there you have it. And I would just also want to mention most importantly too about the pumpkin seed. Why not just after it's been cooked? Yes, you can lightly roast it and toast it. It's very tasty. Or you can also just lightly dry it if you have a food dehydrator. And then what you can do, lightly grind it up at your leisure and use it as a sprinkle topping. I know there's proprietary blends out there where you can sprinkle on your nut and seed mixture. But why not use your own? Why not make your own? And those are fresh, and it's not the dried, stale version on the shelf at the store. So with that said, I don't have any additional information to give you folks today on the subject of pumpkin and these 3 recipes. Do any of you have any questions or comments you'd like to?
What kind of pumpkins are you using? Is it a pie pumpkin?
No. I purposefully passed those by because they're a little bit more expensive. Why do I need to buy them? I really just want to encourage you to purchase your regular orange pumpkins that are very prolific at this time of the year and can be found anywhere. Oh, yes, some may say, oh, they're stringy, you can't use them, but you can use them. And especially in these recipes where we're pureeing the product, it doesn't have any impact. So no, I'm not using the little tiny pumpkin pie.
So the flavor you think is as good as the pie pumpkin?
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is these recipes are well suited for your general store-bought or field purchase pumpkin where you just went out to the pumpkin farm. This is a good pumpkin for that. Because I will readily admit that pumpkins, and I love the Japanese, is it the kabocha squash as well? Definitely, if you want a richer flavor squash, indeed you can substitute that. My goal here today is for you to encourage you to use just the regular store-bought pumpkin because it is economical and available and tasty. There seems to be a phobia in America where we can't eat that pumpkin, so I just wanted to get that word out. And did anyone else have any questions, comments? Yes?
You don't have that equipment at the hospital to cook a pumpkin, like you boil it in water and then bake it.
Well, you don't even have to boil it. I think I advocated, do you have an oven, Mary? Oh, you do?
Yeah, about it.
You do have an oven?
Yeah.
Okay, well then that's what I say right here on the sheet. I just say put it in the oven.
You don't have to boil it first?
No, I don't want people cutting that pumpkin. I don't want them taking a knife. Because I'm certain we all have knives like this that we've used for things we probably shouldn't have. And it's not the best knife suited for raw pumpkin cutting. So avoid that. I want to keep you safe and healthy. So just rinse off that pumpkin, put it on a sheet, and put it in your oven. No! No! And it's kind of grody feeling, when you got to take out those raw seeds. I don't like it. So after they're cooked, it's just easier. An hour. If you come up here and can get a recipe sheet. Is there anyone who does not have a recipe sheet? All right. Well, at the end here, I do have some extra sheets, so be sure you make a trip to get up here. And is our pasta out yet? Are you guys still hungry for that pumpkin pasta? I'm going to check over here. Well, I'm afraid if I can't walk too well, can I walk? How much longer is it going to be we need to serve this. Sorry, I didn't communicate that. So you guys will be getting your pasta now. So, yeah.
lot bigger crowd than when we started with.
That's right. It's really, and just like with the Wednesday night dinners, I always like to have plenty of food and more for everyone. But I just need people to let me know, but we didn't have an RSVP situation here. So, yes, use the seeds, just throw it in the oven, Mary, and you'll be fine. Or if you have a small squash, just put it in the slow cooker, right? And just let it cook away. Yes, Greta.
What was the name of your blender?
Blendtec.
It's a Blendtec.
BLENTEC?
Yes. Anybody else? Yes.
What is a dehydrator? Is that any type and what is it used for?
A dehydrator, is that your question if I've used a dehydrator in the past?
Yeah. Is there any one that you recommend?
That's where I drew the line. For me personally, I don't have a dehydrator in the house. I do have one. It's called a gas oven. But it's not, if you're doing food for raw food preparation, that's just not, perhaps, you can't get it exactly. But if I want to dry food out, I just use my gas oven. Why not? You put it on really low and things dry out. So that's what I use. Anybody else? I think I saw a hand here in the back. Yes? How do I get the coverings off the pumpkin seeds? I don't. And I would eat them. So I get extreme with some of these things. And I just want you to, that's why I encourage you to perhaps take your pumpkin seeds, dry them out a little bit, and maybe add a little herb or seasoning or salt, and just kind of lightly chop it in your food processor. And then it's so small at that point you can easily chew and digest them. Otherwise, it's going to take you all afternoons, unless you have a legion of kids to come and help you out and peel those little things. It'll take forever. That's the only thing I can recommend for you is I don't remove that outside. I just use the whole seed. And was there a question or comment over here? No, this is a fantastic air-dried germ semolina wheat from Italy. It's fantastic. This isn't the low-grade stuff. This is high roller stuff because that's what you guys deserve.
Where do you buy it?
Really good quality food stores. Anybody else? Yes?
You mentioned that you cook your black beans in your slow cooker.
I do.
I don't have a slow cooker. Do you have some tips like when you're just cooking them on the stove? I find that kind of hard to get just right.
That's why this gentleman asked, he doesn't have a slow cooker. What can he use for his beans? He has, I hear people do you have an oven?
Yes.
I hear people have good results with using their oven to cook their beans in because you can kind of lower it a little bit of a temperature more even, but it's still tricky. I find the slow cooker pays for itself over and over again because you can prepare your breakfast, wake up to a warm, good, healthy, supporting breakfast. I use that slow cooker in so many ways. I'm not extravagant, I'm not exactly a minimalist, but the slow cooker is a necessity. So that's the only what I can really offer you, but keep trying. Maybe read something out there that might have better information.
We haven't gotten
Anybody else? Well, with that said, I'd like to say thank you for coming out and hope to see you all again. And have a good day. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Danny.